Let's just take you straight to Doha, where Qatar's foreign minister is hosting his Dutch counterpart to talk about the issues of Afghanistan. Let's just listen in.
Concerted coordination in order to cooperate with regards to these developments, namely political and in terms of security, with the paramount importance as the protection of the civilian residents, preservation of freedoms, and also preservations of the resources and assets of the Afghan people. We are all hopes that the transition of power will be peaceful without any repercussions, negative repercussions on the Afghan people. We also discussed the means to address the humanitarian conditions on the ground and how to address the issues of assistance and other developmental aids to Afghanistan, and the necessity to bring the whole world community together behind this issue. Qatar has always been exerting maximum effort to streamline and to provide all assistance possible with respect to the evacuation of foreign citizens from Afghanistan, together with the vulnerable Afghan citizens, together with those Afghan citizens willing to leave and eligible too. We reiterate that we will continue to exert these efforts with all the international players. We also discussed the means to bolster our cooperation with respect to combating terrorism, namely with respect to and after the recent developments in Afghanistan. Thank you, Your Excellency, and good morning, the representative of the media. I'd like to express my appreciation to you yourself, and we hail the pivotal role played by Qatar as always, and Qatar is still playing this instrumental role. Once again, we thank you for this role, as not only with regards to the backstage negotiations, but also on the international arena with other important and significant issues. We also commend the role played by Qatar with respect to provide maximum protection to the Dutch civilians who were evacuated from Afghanistan, together with the vulnerable Afghanis. I mainly commend the ability of Qatar to maintain channels of communication open and providing maximum assistance to all the international players, including Netherlands. I reiterate what His Excellency said, that our bilateral relations are based on mutual trust and cooperation at the international level. We discussed in detail the situation and the latest development in Afghanistan, and I can echo what he said, that Afghanistan should not be left to go back as a breeding ground for terrorism. This is what we have in sight, and within the same context, we examined all the conceivable means where we can ensure the safe passage and the safe exit of all the foreign citizens, including the Dutch, together with other Afghan vulnerables who are eligible
of Afghanistan, not only the humanitarian situation, which of course is of grave concern. We've discussed the importance of continuous aid and humanitarian assistance in a proper and transparent manner, using the right organizations. For us, the Netherlands, that would be the United Nations or non-governmental organizations whom we have worked with before. But I've also asked Qatar to employ its influence and contacts to really help all parties in Afghanistan to reach an inclusive political agreement that ensures stability and future prosperity of all people in Afghanistan. And of course, we've discussed situation of the vulnerable position of religious and ethnic minorities and Afghan women and girls. And we would like to contribute to this process. And I've also asked His Excellency very kindly to agree to the relocation of the Netherlands embassy from Kabul to Doha, so the Kingdom of the Netherlands can remain effective, be in touch, and resume its work in the optimal manner. Last but not least, we've also discussed all the progress made on issues of labor rights, working conditions, getting ready for the World Cup. And I can only wish the state of Qatar and everyone here that's worked so hard that the World Cup will become a very good success and will speak to all the progress made under the leadership of the Emir. Thank you.
Thank you. شكرا لسعادتكم. نبدأ الآن المؤتمر الصحفي.
Under the leadership of His Excellency the Emir. I would like to ask about the humanitarian conditions on the ground in Afghanistan. The former parliament member has joined her family members here in Doha. Especially we need a brief on the conditions of women who are now bracing for an uncertainty in the future with the latest statements made by Taliban. Once again, is women's right as an item listed on the agenda of the international players, and also with respect to the negotiations taking place with Taliban? We also would like you to brief us on the conditions and prospects of children and children's rights, who are the most vulnerable categories there. Another question about the evacuation process. Qatar succeeded in evacuating thousands of foreign citizens along with Afghan citizens. Are these evacuation process still underway, especially that the deadline was yesterday?
It's a very long question. It's longer than our statements.
The question is even longer than our statements, respectively. If you allow me, with respect to the first part of your question about the safe passage of the parliament member and her arrival to Doha and women's condition in general. An extensive part of the negotiations that took place in Doha, whether between Taliban and other factions, was centered on women and women's role. We reiterated that women play a vital role in the society. This was emphasized, especially that the majority of the negotiating team was made up of women. We reiterated to Taliban that they should carefully review their policies and rhetoric and narrative towards the women, and also should reconsider and readdress the issues of women's rights and allow them to take effective and active role and enjoy full and maximum right to exercise all the rights. And Taliban should not back down on what they had promised. Here, for Qatar, as an example, Qatar is a Muslim country, and women are playing a very important role, taking active part in every domain in our society. 50% of the workforce in the government are women. This is an example for Taliban and others, especially that Qatar is a Muslim country like that of Afghanistan, where women should and can take active part. And this is part of the tenets of our religion, where Islam urged us to do so. With respect to the human aid and assistance and other development assistance, In the joint meeting this morning, we discussed the necessity to continue to deliver aid, namely through the UN organs. We should not back down in this respect. However, the big question is, what are the channels through which such assistance could be provided? As of now, we did not see any decline in the pace of assistance provided by the UN organizations, nor were they boycotted or rejected by the Afghan parties. And this is very important. And this is also part of the ongoing talks with Taliban. On our part, Qatar will continue with its promises and pledges with respect to the human aid intended. As respect to the other part of your question, as you know, Qatar has provided maximum assistance to all the allies and friendly states. Many of their subjects have been evacuated directly to their homeland or through Doha here in Qatar. We have always urged Taliban to preserve the freedom of movement and to provide safe passages to all citizens, foreign and nationals, including the Afghan who are eligible to leave or those holding visas to leave the country. This will be ensured until the airport is fully operational once again, where the movement will go back to normal. The same applies to other foreign visitors who are willing to come to their homeland.
Maybe I can take it in 3 different points. You may know that on Thursday, Friday, the EU Ministers of Foreign Affairs will meet, and Afghanistan, of course, will be a very important topic of conversation. One of them is indeed to discuss the conditionalities. We've issued statements on what we'd like to see for Afghanistan, what we expect of the Taliban. That means an inclusive political process, inclusive representation, respect for universal human rights, particular regard for the position of women and girls, and of course, an agenda that is sustainable, inclusive development focused. That's a tall order, but the conditionalities are very important. The Security Council has also expressed itself in a recent statement on that matter. So we need to help build, and of course, as in life, we need to provide the assistance where possible. We need to do that for the sake of the people of Afghanistan, not for any government or particular regime. We do it for the people of Afghanistan. What we need to see, of course, is that programs and projects will be implemented, that girls can go to school, that young women and girls can work, that their safety and individual protection is assured or guaranteed in a proper manner. These are all steps that need to be demonstrated, so it needs to be tangible. The statements is one thing, but as they say in English, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and it's extremely important. Ultimately as well, a stable and secure Afghanistan is of interest not only to the countries of the region, it's also important when we look at European countries. Disorderly or flows of irregular migration where people may be smuggled, may be trafficked, may face significant journeys of huge distress is also harming people ultimately. So we need to have a focused and sharp agenda. I think under the right conditions, the European Union and all the member states, including the Kingdom of the Netherlands, will be generous. This is a shared agenda. It's intent and intentions. Equally so, the political process is very hard for us to assess at the moment. I think Qatar, again, will play an important role, as other countries in the region. I'm continuing my journey to Pakistan and later tomorrow to Turkey, to ensure that we are in contact with a number of countries that are directly assessing the situation, that are either on the ground or have the right continuous channels of dialogue, and that we really engage on the future of Afghanistan as one international community. I believe that's extremely important.
نعم. السؤال التالي موجه من وكالة الأنباء الفرنسية.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my question. I think actually the question will be for both of you. it will be the same question, but maybe the answer may be a bit different. What do you think Qatar can obtain from the Taliban that other countries cannot? And how do you see your role in the next few years in the new regional situation? Thank you.
Well, I think that Qatar approach with the Taliban is along with our international partners and our regional partners. And we've been talking with them through the mediation process in consultation and also in collaboration with other partners and allies. And also we continued that role during the inter-Afghan dialogue that we were having. A lot of countries were trying to help and to support the process which took place in Doha. I won't say that Qatar can obtain something that the others cannot. I'm sure each country has its channel of communication and has its ways of communication with Taliban, but being also a fair and neutral mediator in the past few years, whether it's between Taliban and the US or the Taliban and the other Afghan parties, has built a trust with all the Afghan parties, not only with Taliban. And this investment that resulted with this trust, I think we need all to use it in a good way for the good of the future of Afghanistan.
Well, I think it's a tough question to ask, perhaps of the Netherlands. We've always been a partner to the people of Afghanistan, but we've done so in joining the military missions that have been implemented in the past. And of course, we were part of Operation Resolute Support. But alongside, we invest 50, 60 million euros a year in sustainable development, in humanitarian assistance for the people of Afghanistan. I think I can only laud the state of Qatar for its patience, for its stance on mediation and efforts continuous to provide the platform and the channels where the parties that need to talk to each other can talk to each other. And that's extremely important in international diplomacy. Exclusion is easy. Inclusion requires a lot of patience and commitments, and I think we all look towards Qatar, and I'm sure you'll see a number of government plays land and take off, and that's, I think, the best recognition any government can have in terms of its role and the expectations of its role. So I wish you courage and continuous engagement, because I think we all look towards Qatar for the leadership role it has played. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
شكرا لسعادتكم وشكرا للأخوة الصحفيين.